Hey there, I'm Lindsay Dreyer, host of the Joyfulpreneur podcast, where I share tips, tricks, and strategies to help women entrepreneurs maximize joy and freedom in their lives and businesses. Let's dive into today's episode. Monica, I would love to start with your journey to running a business in 3 hours a day. How did this come to be?
Yes. Well, let me tell you, I didn't know what I was getting into. So I used to work in corporate. I was a program manager. And then I had my baby. He's not a baby anymore, but you know. And the pandemic hit. And so I thought, well, I've always wanted to build a business, have my own, income, work for myself. And I thought, what a better time than now. And so I started my business when my now toddler was 4 months old.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
What a tender time that is. I am a mom of 3, so I understand.
Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking.
You were just in the baby haze and you needed something to challenge your brain. That's what happens.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yes. And so obviously, I only had time to work during his naps, and maybe if someone would come to visit, like, his grandparents, then I could get like 30 minutes or an hour to myself to work on the business. And so I practically built my business in 2-3 hours a day.
That's incredible. Now, I want to make sure people are opening their minds to this, because I think sometimes people have this misconception that this 3-hour-a-day thing is just for moms or people who are part-time or whatever. But I also think it's applicable to people who have side hustles where they have like a full-time job and they're wanting to launch something of their own. So that's why I'm so excited to talk to you today, because I think that this is applicable to anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur and has limited time and that they can focus on it.
Yep, absolutely.
So tell me more about building a business in 3 hours a day. What do you have to keep in mind? Like, what are your priorities? What are the most important things?
So if you're starting your business from scratch, you have to focus first on your business foundations. That is so important, because everyone online will talk about how to sell. And they usually talk about scaling solutions. But when you start your business, you have to focus on your business foundations, and that should be your priority. And it might be a little bit boring, or it might sound like a lot of time to research things, but it will save you so much time later on. So for example, imagine you're building a house. Right? You don't start building that house by choosing the furniture because you don't yet know the layout. You don't know the dimensions, right?
Right. You can't get to the fun part yet. Sorry. You have to lay the foundation. Exactly. So with the business is exactly the same. And so you first need to research and understand your ideal client. What type of offer do they want to buy? Because you want to create something that people are already looking for. You don't want to create something and then put effort into creating demand for it. You want to serve the existing demand. And all of this takes research. And then once you have that, you can understand the marketing messaging that you should use and what best, social media channel to use to reach your audience and how to sell. So everything will be a lot easier once you have this. So what are the 3 main things that you think are most important when building that foundation?
So the first one is really getting to know your ideal client. Who are you selling to? Then you have to understand what would be a great offer for them, an irresistible offer for them. And then the third element is your marketing messaging. How do you speak to that person? How do you talk about your offer to that person? What are they interested in? How can you attract their attention and keep their attention? So I think once you nail these three things, everything else is a lot easier. Creating content will be easy, selling will be easy, but you need to know this.
It's the foundations of selling. And if you don't sell, you aren't going to make money, and it will be a hobby, not a business, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I can imagine working 3 hours a day, especially if you have another job or toddlers or children, as we understand that it can be very distracting and you can be pulled in a bunch of different directions. How do you handle that?
Yes. So I think there are two different types of distractions. One is your personal circumstances. So, for example, if you are a toddler mom, you have your toddler asking every 5 minutes for something, a toy, snacks, the TV,
Oh my gosh, I know.
Yes. And so, even my husband sometimes, he's like, he wants attention. And I'm like, yes, okay, but I need to finish this first.
Those are all, the downfalls of working from home. Exactly. I'm telling you.
Yep. So, distractions are very common. And so I'm going to address this first, and I'm going to talk about the second type of distractions. So the way I always tell my clients to manage distraction is take your tasks on your to-do list and split them in tiny little tasks that you can do in 10-15 minutes each. Because that way you not also finish things, but also I get that satisfaction that, I've achieved something, I can cross it off. I get massive satisfaction from just crossing things off.
We all do. It's such a nice little hit of serotonin or happiness, oxytocin, whatever it is. It feels so good.
Yes, exactly. And then you don't have to keep thinking, I haven't finished this, I still have to do this, and get frustrated that you get interrupted. I mean, you're still going to get a little bit frustrated, but it's easier to know that I've finished this. Now I can pay some attention to my toddler or do whatever I need to do, and then get back to my second task, which is also going to take me 10-15 minutes, and so on.
What's an example? Can you give us just a simple example of like a big task and then maybe the subtasks that you put underneath it?
Yeah. So for example, if you, let's say, build a website page, a sales page, let's say, you can split it into sections, and you can say, okay, I have the introduction of the program first. Then I want to have the section that tells who is this program for. And then I can have the section that's about me, like who are you buying from, right? And then maybe I can have a section of testimonials. And so you work on each section separately. So it's a lot easier to handle it, because if you think, especially for long sales pages, right, it can be a little intimidating and you might not know definitely. Where do I start? And so if you break it down by section, it's a lot easier to tackle it one at a time.
Do you find that if you don't do it that way, the task just sits on your to-do list nonstop? Like it's just always there and it keeps getting kicked from week to week to week?
Exactly. Yes. And not only that, but it's sometimes very hard to start, writing the copy. Like it just, from a creativity point of view, and it's so hard to start writing because you're so overwhelmed by every single thing, every information you have to put on that page that is like, I don't know where to start. So you don't.
Right. And if you only have 15 minutes,
exactly.
It makes it even more stressful because you're wondering, how am I getting this huge thing done in 15 minutes? I'm just not going to. I give up.
Exactly. I'm just gonna, go on social media and watch Instagram or TikTok.
Exactly. It's just human nature. I really feel like we get overwhelmed so easily.
Yep.
So how do you have any tips for protecting your work time? Like, do you have any strategies or tips on protecting those 3 hours you get a day, or however long you have, 4 hours, 2 hours?
Yeah. So I think it's very important to know, as we said, how to organize yourself. So you have these tiny little tasks, I would go a step further and say you should also split your tasks between tasks that are more admin, very simple, easy to do, and then tasks where you need to concentrate, where you need to really pay attention. And then schedule those when you know you have more time. So for example, 2 hours at a time. And just, for example, you can protect your time by arranging a schedule with your partner, for example. So for example, what I do is I tell my husband, okay, this week on Tuesday and Thursday, in the afternoon, I need 2 hours. So you take our son to the park or wherever, do something fun together. But during these 2 hours, this is my time for my business. Right. And I'm not going to be interrupted.
I need them out of the house.
Exactly. Yes. So, you can arrange some time and don't be afraid to ask for it. I know it could be awkward or, at the beginning I was finding it a little bit uneasy to ask my, in-laws, for example, to take my son to the park for an hour but you need it. And so don't be afraid to ask for it. And people usually are happy to help. So that's what I would say. Protect an hour to a day whenever it feels like you are running, behind with tasks, or just as a general schedule every week, get into that routine. That's also important of, tackling those tasks. And because we were talking about distractions, I was saying that there are two different types of distractions. So there's, there are personal distractions, but there's also distractions in terms of learning about business, how to do business. And there's so many people out there that will bombard you with their super special solution that will make you get rich fast. Or the one solution that will, skyrocket your business, and you have to do this, and that it creates FOMO, and you're distracted by everything online, and then you're trying to do 20 different things at the same time. And that's also a danger for your business, because obviously you don't have capacity and you have to stay focused on what will really push your business forward, and not just try all of these little things and then not end up doing anything really important, and you cannot focus on anything properly.
Yeah, you really have to, it sounds like, be incredibly protective of your time and energy. And there's this discipline involved, in this focus involved, that you have to make the most of the 3 hours you're getting, or it's just not going to work.
Exactly. Yes. And you said it, discipline. That is so, so, so important. And it's you that has to have that discipline, because, in a business, you don't have a boss, you don't have, you might have clients, but no one that's telling you, okay, now I need you to work on this, and this is the deadline. It doesn't happen often. So you have to be that person that says, okay, I have this deadline and I actually have to meet this deadline. Yeah.
It is part of being an entrepreneur. We have to run the show. We are the boss, and having discipline is not the most fun part of the job for most people, but it is a necessary one. That is for sure.
Yep.
What common mistakes do you think that entrepreneurs make when they are dealing with focus and time management?
I think a lot of new entrepreneurs focus on the wrong things that waste their time. So again, going back to the furniture example, it's the exciting stuff. Creating your website, your logo, your colors, choosing, your aesthetics. And when you start a business, those things don't really matter. Your client is not going to remember those perfect images on your sales page that you spent 6 hours looking for.
Wait, they aren't? Oh, that's so sad to hear.
I know, right? Yeah, so you don't really need a super complex website when I started my business, I had 3 pages on my website. An about me page, my sales page, and I think a freebie page. That was it. And so you don't need to complicate things, and you don't need to nail your branding straight away. You don't need a logo. You don't need to know your brand colors immediately, especially if you don't have time or money to spend for this. You can just, like, there's so many platforms out there, software, that just, you can choose a template and go with it. You know, just use whatever colors are there. And then later on, when you know better who you are as an entrepreneur, when you have a better idea of the identity of your brand, that's when you can focus more on rebranding, actually creating your own aesthetics, your brand colors, the fonts that you like. You know, it will come. For example, my brand identity, like, I only recently changed everything and made it the way that I felt aligned with my brand and who I want, you know, to be as an entrepreneur. You know, it was a year and a half later after starting my business. So you don't need that.
I actually love this message, because I think a lot of times we're told the opposite, which is you have to have your brand messaging, your marketing messaging, all of that locked down before you get out into the marketplace. But I love the idea of, like, the tail wagging the dog here, where you are getting experience with your ideal client, figuring out what their problems are, their needs are, their solution, like all of that stuff, and then crafting your branding from their experience, which that makes so much sense. It seems counterintuitive, but that actually is extremely intuitive. And I think it's contradicting of what most advice we get as entrepreneurs.
Yeah, no, it's so hard for you to nail that in the beginning because you don't have experience. You don't really know what selling feels like. You might not even know the myths and mistakes in the industry, in your niche. You might have never spoken to your ideal client before. So there's no point in forcing it and spending effort and time in trying to come up with, you know, your messaging, especially when you're influenced by all of this sleazy and pushy marketing.
Oh, it's so true. I know.
And I see a lot of people not wanting to do that, but ending up doing that because they don't know how else to talk to their audience. And so just take your time. Just get to know that ideal client. Get to know yourself, your brand. Just get experience, get feedback. That's the most important. Get feedback. And marketing messaging is not something that you create once for the rest of your business.
I wish it was.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Would be so much easier.
So easy.
But no, that's something that you're going to keep changing because you will change as an entrepreneur. Your audience will change. Trends will change. Ideas will change. So, you know, they will come.
That's so nice. It's such a patient message.
Yes, yes.
It will come. Yes. Let it come to you.
Yeah. And I
love that.
I think that's also so important when you only have 3 hours a day for your business. You know, you are tired and it's a learning curve. So you have to be patient with yourself. You cannot rush the process. You have to push yourself, obviously, to show up and be consistent. But just trust the process and just be patient. Things will come. You cannot compare yourself to all of these people online that have been in business for 5-6 years, have a 10 people team behind them that support them, and have gone through all of these mindset challenges that you have to go through as well. You know, it's very depressing when you compare yourself with such successful people, but you're doing a disservice to yourself because you don't have 12 hours a day like they have. You don't have a team behind you. You don't have the experience and the audience that they have. And so you just have to go at your own pace and stay in your own lane and do your thing. And things will happen. Maybe not as fast as you want to, but they will.
I believe it. One of my favorite sayings is comparison is the thief of joy. And when you compare, you're letting somebody steal your happiness and your joy and your dream. And we're all running our own race, just like you said. Like, we are all just need to stay in our lane and enjoy staying in our lane and don't look at everyone else. It's like being in yoga class. You don't want to see what everyone else is doing in the pose, because there's always going to be someone who's more flexible and strong than you.
Yeah.
But you just have to be happy with where you are right now and today and be proud of yourself. So when you're feeling down and you're letting comparison become your joy thief, do you have any strategies, or do you have anything that works for you to get yourself back in your lane and focused on the progress that you are making?
So I think, one, you have to keep reminding yourself of your circumstances. So for example, I had to repeatedly remind myself, I have a toddler, or a baby back then. I have a baby. I choose my baby to be my priority. Mm-hmm. And so I made a conscious choice to do that and not, for example, put him in childcare and have those 10 hours for my business. That was my choice. And then think about everything that I've achieved so far, whatever it was at that moment, and be like, I'm getting there. It might not seem much, but look at how many things I've actually done in the past, 6 months, let's say. And then I think another very important part is having a support system in place in terms of the people that surround you. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, my husband supports me so much. And whenever he sees me, down or feeling like, oh, this is not working, he always reminds me of everything that I've done and that I'm a wonderful mom and wife and whatever he says. He's very good with words. I have to say. And so that recenters me. Like, okay, you know what? I am doing okay. And obviously things will not always work as expected. But, I'm pushing forward and I'm doing my thing. And, I have to enjoy it and accept failures, as opportunities to learn and to grow. And I remind myself that business and marketing is a test. Mm-hmm. Is a test. I've tested something, it didn't work. Okay, I've learned from it. Let's test something else. So yeah, that's what I do. And then I also put, I have a collection of songs that I put on, and I'm like, oh, instantly motivated. Like, yes, I can do this.
Oh my gosh. Confidence Boost, the playlist on Spotify. That's my jam. I love that one. So does my 8-year-old. She's all about it.
Yes.
Do you think women are harder on themselves about this? Do you feel like there's the mom guilt and the work guilt that creeps in?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. Whenever I work, I'm like, I feel guilty that I'm not with my kid, or maybe researching something for the school, or cleaning my house, or maybe creating healthier meals, or, there's always that guilt. And when I'm with my kid or doing housework, I'm thinking I have an endless list for my business and I'm not doing it. So it's always this, I get pulled in these two directions all the time.
I think it's such a universal thing, whether you're home with children or you're working full time and children are in daycare or school. We're so hard on ourselves about, we should be doing this, we should be doing that. And I wonder how we can find that peace inside of us, that we're just okay with where we are right now. And we're just doing our best.
Yeah. It's hard. It's easy to say, your kid is fine. He's having fun.
Right.
You're doing a great job. You're okay. He's okay. And your business is okay. Like, it will be fine. But it's hard to really assimilate that and truly believe it. And up to a point that I believe that, like, I see my kid is so happy. Now he goes to nursery in the morning and he's so happy. Like, he doesn't even say hi to me. He just like runs into the classrooms. And so I know he's happy. So I have to think to myself, stop feeling guilty. He's having fun. Just enjoy this free time that you have.
Exactly. But it's easier said than done a lot of times that you really have to give yourself permission to enjoy it. And I think the way that you're reframing it, where your son is having fun, he's with his friends, like he's having a great time. So I think that's a really healthy way to reframe it, which is I can set that guilt aside and I can focus on me and what I need to get done, knowing that he's in a great spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you ever struggle with procrastination?
Yes.
Are you a human?
Oh my God, procrastination is such a complex thing. Yes, I mean, to be fair, all I want to do every day is just binge Netflix and
take a nap. Oh my gosh, if I could have a daily nap, I would be just an amazing person.
Oh, yes, exactly. And yeah, so procrastination creeps in all the time. And so I have to like push myself and say, okay, I need to work. I need to do this. I have to show up for my business because it's not going to grow miraculously without me.
Right.
Unfortunately. And so I have to push myself, especially if my toddler didn't sleep during the night and then I'm tired, and I have to be very conscious that I still have to show up for the business. That doesn't mean that we have to burn ourselves out. So I feel like there's the fine line between pushing yourself and genuinely needing a break. So whenever I feel like I'm falling asleep, then I just close my laptop and go to sleep. And that will not happen every day, right? So I am tired every day, but I'm not that tired to stop working. But when it does happen, then I do take that time for myself and I'm like, okay, I need to sleep. Like, I cannot do this, because then you end up not focusing properly anyway and maybe doing some error, mistake, something, and then you create more work for yourself.
So there's a difference between procrastination and taking care of yourself, I think.
Yes. And you have to know what the difference is. You have to think about, am I procrastinating right now, or do I really need to go to sleep? Or do I really need to just take the day off?
Sometimes you really do just need to take the day off.
Yes. And you should listen to your body. And then you'll feel so much better and with so much energy and creativity the next day. You'll be able to focus so much better. And you're not exactly wasting time because you're more productive if you've had that day off. Yeah. But procrastination is sneaky as well.
Oh.
It's sneaky as well, because there's procrastination when you know you're procrastinating. You know you should not start that new episode on Netflix.
Oh, I know. Oh, but you're going to.
Stop it. But then there's procrastination when you're not maybe conscious of it. Like, for example, I sometimes think I have to do this thing for work that is maybe new to me, or it's uncomfortable, or I know I'm going to have to really focus. And then I'll say, yeah, but I have to put the washing machine on, or, I have to go shopping. And so it's this housework that I say, I'm busy, but that can wait. I'm just procrastinating. Or I'm doing something very simple and, for example, I'm going on social media and I'm like, you know what? I need to check this account as well because this is research.
Oh, exactly.
It is research,
right?
Yes, I'm just
definitely
getting ideas for my own social media, but it's not really. I'm just procrastinating instead of, creating my own content for social media. I'm just, browsing what everyone else is doing on Reels. And that sometimes might not be obvious to us.
It does require a certain amount of self-awareness.
Yes.
Oh, it's just not so easy.
No.
So I can imagine that if you are trying to work and build a business 3 hours a day, that it is just intense. Like I'm getting this vibe that this is just a very intense thing to be doing. So do you have any tips for avoiding burnout? Because I can imagine that this could be a recipe for burning out, because you're either full-time momming it and building a business, or you're full-time working and side hustling a business. How do you avoid burnout?
So again, it comes down to discipline. And the way I control my discipline, apart from, making a commitment to my business and making a commitment to really show up. I guess a big part of that is my why. Why do I want to do this? And that has to be important enough to you to show up.
Yes.
It has to push you. So obviously my why is I want to be flexible. I want to stay at home. I want to be able to take care of my kid when he's sick without having to ask for permission to skip work. So I like that flexibility. Because before in corporate, I would work, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day. I was in launch mode all the time. And that required me to be online, even after work hours, and travel a lot. And for me, that's what would expect me. I would expect if I went back to corporate. And so that why is driving me to show up. So apart from that, what I also use is a system to organize my tasks. And so I always ask myself, whenever I work on my tasks, is this the fastest way to get clients? Is this urgent? Is this really necessary? Like, will this really make an impact for my audience? Does it really matter if I do this? What happens if I don't? Right? And if I don't, will anyone notice that I didn't do this? And so I'm very strict with eliminating all those tasks that will not really make an impact. I have a Trello board. And so all of these ideas, I write them down as tasks and I put them in a column that says later.
I love that.
Whenever I get to them. If I ever get to them. And then I just focus on those tasks that I really need to do. Either if they're urgent, if they're client work, if they bring value, and so they really create that connection between me and my audience. Will that help me, get clients or serve my clients better or serve my audience better? And I'm very protective of my time as well. So if I, for example, in the beginning of my business, I wanted to be on Instagram. And I tried it for a few weeks. And then I realized it's too much work. I cannot be on Instagram. I don't have the capacity for this. And I had to make the decision to ignore it. And so I ignored it for more than a year. And now that my son is going to nursery and I have a few more hours and I'm back on it. But it's just being very realistic of what you can do. And for me, Instagram was not it. And so I focused on Facebook groups. It was so much easier way of creating content, easier way of engaging with people, making connections. And that became my main community. That's where I get clients from. That's where I engage with my people. And so now I'm getting into Instagram and other things. But I didn't. So you have to have that discipline to say, I cannot do this. Just be realistic.
I can imagine that this would make growing, when you do have more time to dedicate to the business, even more efficient. And it's like pouring gasoline on the fire because you already have this really efficient fire going because you have really distilled running a business in 3 hours a day. So when you're able to add an additional hour or an additional 2 hours, did you experience when your son went to nursery school this effect of your business just exploding?
Yes, more from, I guess, a creativity point of view. Because I stopped being in, just focusing on the absolutely necessary and urgent into
survival mode. Yes.
Yes, survival mode. Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. So I went from that into, okay, what else can I do? Like, how can I do this? What else would I love to do? And I wasn't able until now. So more video content, more engaging with people, Instagram, being on podcasts, collaborating with people, creating connections. So from a connectivity and networking and creativity point of view, I feel like I didn't consider myself a creative person before. Before starting my business, and now I'm like, oh, I have all of these ideas, and like I can do more than just being in survival mode.
Yeah, it gave you the breathing room to
exactly
just be a little bit more.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you have any final advice for people who are considering starting a business in 3 hours a day, or maybe they are in this position? Words of encouragement.
Yeah, just trust the process. Don't rush things. Put blinders on. Focus on what you have to do and where you are in your journey. And yeah, just be very protective of that time. I guess that is a summary of it. It's hard. It's not easy. It's obviously hard, especially when you see other people growing faster.
Right.
But starting and I always believe that small steps is what takes to success. It's those small steps that you take every single day, those small decisions, those small tasks that build up that momentum that eventually lead to success. It's not always big decisions, and sometimes there are people that have 12 hours a day or 8 hours a day for their business, but they don't know how to use those hours. And so they procrastinate all the time, or they focus on things that don't matter. And so just because you have a limited time for the business doesn't mean you have to be stuck, doesn't mean you have to, grow slow. It just means that you have to be very productive and very conscious of how you spend that time. And,
right.
Clients will come and you're going to be able to create the content that you want. And for example, another important thing is some people just think that they have to launch this business and have their service or program completely done from the beginning before they start selling. Like I wanted an online course, a huge online course that I had in mind in the beginning. And I quickly realized that's not going to happen because I don't have those hours. And so what I did was I created a layout of that program and then created small paid workshops and webinars for those lessons.
Smart.
And so I started getting money in, and I started getting clients and testimonials and talking about those topics. And I started creating those assets because obviously you record the workshop, and that workshop went into my program. And then I recorded another one and then went into my program again. And so after about a year, I had that complex program.
And you were getting paid for it along the way, which is amazing.
Yeah,
you're getting paid for developing your course, which is incredible.
Exactly. So you don't have to have everything figured out the first, month when you start your business. Take it slow, find creative ways of doing it, If you want a course, then you can do it by sections. If you want a program or, system, your own framework, just take it step by step and you'll get there.
I think that's really encouraging, is that it is hard, but you can do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
What is one book that changed your life?
I'm going to say it was a book by Tony Robbins. I don't remember which one, but I remember I was, I think, 19. And I read this book. And it not only helped me understand the vision that I had for my life and what I wanted to do, but it also helped me manifest my husband.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I know, honestly, I couldn't believe it. Because Tony talks about making a list of what you want in life. What are the goals, and be very specific about what you want in life. And so I kind of did one list for, what I wanted to achieve, and then one list for my perfect partner. And 2 months later, I met my husband. And then at one point, I remember we were in my bedroom. I was renting at that time. And we were laughing because I made this list about the perfect partner, and I went point by point. And I'm not kidding you. I had maybe 30 different specific points, and he met 28 of them.
That's amazing.
I was like, oh my God, this works.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I'm going to say Tony Robbins.
I think we have a new business opportunity for you. You're going to be the man manifester. I love this idea.
Yes.
All right. We're going to talk about that offline.
Yeah.
What is your key to living joyful entrepreneurship?
Joyful entrepreneurship. I do believe that business can be fun if you let it, if you don't take it too personal. Don't take it personal. It's not about you, because when things don't go well or, are slower than you expect, it's easy to think, maybe I'm not made for this. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's something wrong. I'm doing something wrong. I'm missing skills. Or you just have to take yourself out of it, and also if you get a nasty comment online or an email, people complain all the time.
They do. I know.
It's so much easier to complain when you're not facing that person, right? So online, people can write whatever. And so you cannot let that get to you. It's not personal at all. Even when it seems personal, it's not. So just take yourself out of it, and it will be so much easier to navigate this when it's more objective. And just have fun. You're building your own business, something yours, personal, that is you're, giving all this creativity to it. So just allow yourself, give yourself permission to have fun with it. You don't have to be a copycat of everything else that happens online. Just, if you want to do things differently, just do it. Make it fun for you.
Business isn't 100% fun, but it should be fun. And it should not feel horrible, and you should not dread it. And if you are, you should probably take a look at what you're doing and see if you can fix that.
Exactly. Yes.
So if people want to find you, what is the best way for them to find you and get in touch?
On my website, launchwithmonica.com. That's where I have all my events, freebies, programs, more information about myself. On Instagram, at launchwithmonica as well. That's where you'll get to know me a little bit more in a more personal way, and I do lives as well. So yeah, that would be
awesome. Thank you so much for all your wisdom about starting a business in 3 hours a day. I think that this is going to be super helpful for a lot of people. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Before I let you go, I wanted to let you know that I have a 5-day Spark Joy Challenge, and it is totally free, available on my website. you can go to joyfulpreneur.link/podcast. The link is also in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to the Joyfulpreneur podcast. Remember to check the show notes for all the links and resources mentioned in this episode. Your reviews also mean the world to me. If you're enjoying the podcast, please leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Until next time, stay joyful.